Welcome everyone, this is On Just Restart, and this time we're talking about when we should expect more news for the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. In the most recent September Nintendo Direct, we finally got another trailer confirming the release date for May 12, 2023, and the title of the game being Tears of the Kingdom. We finally know about these things, but with this most recent trailer, it was still just another 90-second-ish trailer. It was still short. It still barely gave us any true new information about this game. We still know so little. But with the confirmed release date for May 12th, the clock is ticking. This game is coming, and Nintendo has yet to give us the goods on this game. We still know very little about it. We still don't have the information we need to decide if it's worth buying. I'm sure most of us will buy the game because it's a Zelda game, but there's still so much to share and teach us about what this game has to offer. So that begs the question, when will we be getting more news about this game? There's a few months between now and the release of the game. When should we expect more news? Well, that's what we're talking about today. Before we jump to things, let me first very quickly talk about my social media. You may see a few different things here on screen. You can check that all out. It's linked in the description below. And of course, if you like what you're seeing here, you can subscribe if you haven't done so already, or perhaps even consider joining as a member. So I decided to make this video today because recently we have seen these new photos of this awesome new statue of Link from Tears of the Kingdom at this Nintendo Live event. Even the official social media pages of Nintendo's Twitters are actually posting photos of this, showing it off. And what's exciting about this, beyond it just being an amazingly detailed and life-size statue of Link from the game so we can get a closer look of how he looks, is that it's a suggestion that Nintendo is ready to start marketing this game. If we're seeing big statues like this out there, what else does that mean? I think it means that Nintendo has promotional material put together for this game. They are getting ready, they are ramping up. As they should. The game is coming out in just a few months. But within these next few months, when should we reasonably expect more information? Well, as we get closer and closer to the release, I'm sure Nintendo's gonna become more and more willing to be putting out social media posts talking a little bit more about the game. That's what they do for pretty much all their games. If you pay attention to Nintendo's Twitter now, they're talking about Mario Rabbids, they're talking about Fire Emblem Engage, they're talking about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Well, Pokemon will be talking about that, but they'll share or retweet that information. Point is, when we're a few months away, just a handful of months away, they will talk about these games. I usually like to think that we're within 3 or 4 months, we're going to be hearing about these games with some regularity. We're not quite there yet. By next year, I think we'll be starting to see more and more social media posts about this game leading up to the release. But before we get to that point, I think there's going to be a few other moments for this game. So as soon as I think we could be seeing something significant coming out about this game beyond just some sort of little detail here or there, will be at the Game Awards. Now I know, multiple times in recent history, the last few years, we've talked about Zelda being at the Game Awards and it has not been there. But this time is different. This time we know that Tears of the Kingdom is coming out next year, this May. When we go back to the lead up for Breath of the Wild, they talked about Breath of the Wild at the Game Awards multiple years. But of course back then there wasn't much else for Nintendo to talk about until the Switch era arrived. So now with Nintendo having a lot more games and a lot more relevance, there isn't always a need or a desperate need to just focus on Zelda so people will finally pay attention to Nintendo. They can focus on other things. So with that in mind, we may not need to get Zelda information at the Game Awards. We don't, frankly, we really don't. But they do like to usually have some sort of presence, especially if they have something big around the corner. And with Tears of the Kingdom coming out this May, the timing is pretty much about as spot on as it could be for a trailer at the Game Awards. If there's no trailer for Tears of the Kingdom at the Game Awards, then I'll probably just completely, almost entirely give up on expecting anything from Nintendo major at the Game Awards again. I think they will just have moved on. Could they go back? Sure, you never really know, but lately Nintendo has been more and more absent. I'll also mention, since we're on the topic, that Nintendo may focus on putting the Mario movie at the Game Awards. They could do both, but it's more likely it'll be one or the other. So I'm not saying with 100% certainty that we'll get a trailer for Tears of the Kingdom at the Game Awards, but it's definitely a likelihood, I would say at least 50%. So we'll see what happens, but there's a pretty good chance, so I definitely have it in mind. But going beyond that, when else can we expect more information about this game? Well, in another general Nintendo Direct. based off the past, based off the historical trends and patterns we've seen from Nintendo during the Switch era, we should be expecting at least one more major General Nintendo Direct before the release of this game. When will that happen? Usually it's February, so I'm going to assume February again this time around as well. It's also worth noting this is when Zelda's anniversary actually is, in the month of February. It's nothing significant. We've already passed the 35th anniversary with very little fanfare there, so I'm not expecting much from them for another random anniversary year, but I think it is something that could be mentioned, and regardless, this is usually when we see a Direct, so with a major Direct likely happening in either February or March, they're going to be talking about Tears of the Kingdom, with it inevitably coming out just a couple months later in May. Beyond the Mario movie, it's the biggest thing we have coming from Nintendo in 2023 so far, and I have a hard time thinking of Nintendo coming out with anything else that could be as big, save for maybe another Mario game. So it's definitely going to be getting a big focus. It's definitely going to be mentioned in the next General Nintendo Direct, which, again, based off historical patterns, will either be happening in February or March. So definitely expect news around then. I'd be shocked, absolutely shocked, if we don't hear anything about Tears of the Kingdom at that point. I think if we didn't, it would be because something terrible happened and there was either some sort of global catastrophe, God forbid, or Nintendo has to delay the game, even though at this point the game seems like it's pretty much done. But after this General Nintendo Direct, I still think there'll be another moment where we'll get something significant about this game, and that will be a dedicated Zelda Direct about Tears of the Kingdom. Recently, we've seen Nintendo put out game-specific directs for some of their major games for this year. Splatoon 3, the month before it came out, we had a Splatoon 3 Direct. It was on the 10th of August, and then the game came out the 9th of September. If we go back to the summer, we had a Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Direct on June 22nd, and the game came out on July 29th. So with both of these major games that came out this year, we saw a major Direct come out for these games about a month or so beforehand. So I'm expecting in early April, sometime around then, we will be seeing a dedicated Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Nintendo Direct. There's going to be so much they're going to want to talk about with this game, especially when you take into consideration that typically when it comes to major Zelda games, they are showcased at a big E3 event, and they are usually the star of the show with so much information shared about them. We haven't had that situation for Tears of the Kingdom, so they're going to have to do something a little different, and that little different will probably be another Nintendo Direct dedicated entirely to Tears of the Kingdom. And that's where we'll probably get all the information we need, including pre-order information and special merchandising. All that kind of information will for sure be out by that point at the latest, I would say. Now, there's another small wrinkle I'm going to throw in here before I close things out, and that's the possibility that they could be using Tears of the Kingdom to launch alongside new hardware. I don't know what kind of hardware it might be. It could be the next generation, it could be a mid-gen refresh, or just some other type of revision. But it's worth noting because historically speaking, Nintendo has used Zelda to push new hardware. Not to mention that by the time Tears of the Kingdom comes out, we will be in the 7th year of the Nintendo Switch, so it's definitely the right time to start thinking and talking about the next generation. So with Tears of the Kingdom, a huge Zelda game coming out around that time, there's definitely a decent chance that something may happen here for new hardware as well. And if that's the case, there may be an event announcing this new hardware, and in there we may get more details about Tears of the Kingdom, because it could be the game that they use to launch alongside this new hardware. That's something else that could happen. Of course, Nintendo could be saving new hardware for later on, perhaps holiday 2023 or even a little bit later. So if that's the case, then, you know, this point is moot. But I'm mentioning it because it is definitely a possibility, and a decent one at that. But with that all said, looking at everything here, I would say we're looking at just a few months where we're bound to be getting some significant new information for this game. The game's coming out May 12th. It really is not that far away, and it's going to be a good time because we're going to be learning more and more about this game, and every time we get some little tidbit of information, it's exciting to analyze and decipher and theorize on, because, well, it's The Legend of Zelda, and that's part of the fun with this series. But what do you guys think? When do you guys think we'll be seeing more information for Tears of the Kingdom? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, everyone, this is On Just Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.